History Talk with Smith Co. Hello and welcome back to History Talk. Today we're going to talk about the Unionist Party's opinions on Home Rule and the British opinion on Home Rule. So the Unionist Party were really, they were like the Home Rule Party in one particular way. It was that they had a particular aim. Because as I said in the previous video, when you're a party that has essentially no power, it's not really a democracy. The people are only able to elect like a very small percentage of their representatives will not be able to represent them actually, in realistic terms, Britain is not going to go, oh, Irish politicians, yes, we were wondering, what are the problems with Ireland? Really? They're the problems? You want that? Oh, I guess we'll give that to you. No. Their reaction is going to be, no, this is how we're doing things. We're not going to be changing things just for your country, just because, we fecked up in your country. So the Unionist Party has a similar aim, which is to prevent Home Rule, which is actually an even better aim than Home Rule, because they don't even need to do anything about it, because they just go, no. Just no. Just keep it flat. No. Because the Home Rule Party, they have to actually campaign, they have to go to this, they have to do that, they have to do the other, they have to convince the British to allow them to have Home Rule. Unionist Party just need to go, no, don't, leave it as it is. And when you have the Conservatives are, imperialistic people, so they like to have their massive empire. They like to have control over all these countries. And they're not going to be in any way supportive of being democratic or, non-imperialistic, non-dictatorial. So they don't want to have they don't want to release this sort of dictatorship-style system from Ireland or really from anywhere else. It isn't just Ireland. It isn't like, we don't like how we don't want to give Ireland freedom. No, it's just everyone. They do not want to give anyone freedom. Or not even freedom. Home rule isn't even freedom. Home rule is actually very, 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 very basic. And when you're being told, you can veto, you can just stop any law that comes into place, you're just basically you're saying is, we don't even want to give them the chance. We don't even give them the ability to make their own decisions. But the problem with that is that obviously you just look kind of like, stupid. Because they are saying to you will have the power to stop any law that we are trying to introduce. Not like the Lords where you could veto it or something like that. This is just, flat, no, that's not happening. Killed instantly. Not it gets passed to the Commons and then it gets stopped by Lords. It's just stopped instantly. No more discussion, no more, discussion of it, that's it. That shows that they don't want to even give them the ability to actually make decisions, even if the British government would agree with them about it. Which I would say shows a certain kind of view of which is so what if the Conservatives aren't empowered of the line? Maybe that's what they're thinking of, that maybe a different party might allow them to do different things that the Conservatives wouldn't. But also for the now, the Conservatives don't really want to have that option of, I think really when you get down to it, the Conservatives do show a certain amount of, sort of actually harming Ireland almost deliberately, because while other parties are like, that policy caused a lot of issues there. The tax raise was a bit of a problem in Ireland, wasn't it? Whoops. I don't really care though. So, but it's not like that. In conservatism, it looks more like, so this party want to have the ability to make decisions for themselves that'll best benefit the Irish state. Now we want to say no, you can't even get the chance to do that. So it just looks a bit like that, Anyway, so in the attempt to prevent Home Rule in Ireland, the Unionist Party decided to choose Edward Carson in 1910 as its leader. By then, Edward Carson was actually 6 years old. He actually turned out to be a fairly good leader. He organised rallies and speeches, and he kind of united Irish Unionists behind the cause of the Union. He also managed to gain a lot of sympathy from British political leaders. Carleton's second in command was a wealthy Belfast industrialist by the name of Sir James Craig. A very energetic man, Craig also worked behind the scenes to organise Unionist opposition to Home Rule. But what about the British? What do the British think about this question of Home Rule? The British, well, there was a certain amount of problems here. Because when you get to the Parliament, there are 560 British MPs representing British voters in the House of Commons. They would all, each one of them, have a say on Home Rule. Now, only by convincing the majority of them to agree to Home Rule could nationalists actually win their own Parliament. Now, only by convincing them just to keep things as they were could Unionists, in their opinion, feel safe. Obviously, you could argue, because later down the line there was the offer of, partition of Home and Home Rule. So, there's that. Will you be safe there? So, you also have the question of, that's what the British think. So, that's the sort of situation you have there. But what exactly do the British think? Because the British are not really interested. They have many colonies, they have many areas, they have dominion over, they have many sort of things that they have control of. So at the end of the day, they are not really going to care that much about a little island asking for its own government. But that's a problem, because you see, that means that they are very easily, just convinced into the argument of, no, let's keep them under our foot. And obviously, that means the Union support is far stronger than the support for nationalists. Now, this is especially in effect in England, because obviously, if you're in Scotland, you're going to have some people, not all, but some people who will not really want to have this kind of control over you. Now, you might think, okay, you're in the United Kingdom and you've got a little bit of a better status than you might have if you're an African country that's under British control, or an Asian country that's under British control. If you're one of those countries, then obviously, you might think that. But you're still not necessarily going to turn your nose down at another country looking for their own parliament. So obviously, you need a little bit more support than you would. You need a little bit more support in places like Scotland than you would in England itself, because England itself is, extremely racist place, an extremely imperialistic place, an extremely arrogant place. It's not really the best place to try and win support for a country where, the British don't really want to give up control for anything, because they're English. Sorry, the English don't want to give it for anything, especially because they're the ones who actually bring in the money. They're the ones who are able to bring in all the resources. They're the ones who are able to profit off the backs of others, while countries like Ireland that are within the thing are going to have money taken off them, going to have those resources taken off them. So that's the situation you have. England is the one who's benefiting, while other areas, they're not going to, they may not support you, but they're less likely to be fully against it. Anyway, so this is the situation you have in this point, which is that if you look at it like this, if I am an English person and I think about it like this, okay, so I am here thinking about this, I'm thinking, okay, so this country, right? This country wants to have its own parliament. Now, we would have total power, but you know what? We'd still have technically less power than we have now. Now, that is not going to resonate well with English politicians who at this time are, very, 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 very imperialistic, and almost to a degree that they don't even realize that it's wrong. You will see this sometimes. If you commit a crime and you realize it's a crime, you know, and you realise it's a bad crime. Like, I mean, like, I'm not saying that, crimes, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm inciting, you know, that you should commit crimes. I'm just saying that some crimes are not necessarily as bad as others, and some crimes, if you realise they're bad, you just look slightly better than you do if you just don't think it's bad, like, at all. Like, not that you don't think it's a crime. Anyone can think something isn't a crime. That is just, you know, you're not aware of the law. But if you don't think it's bad, then that's a relatively bad sign if it is really bad, because this is, you know, that's a, you know, it's a basic human thing. It's like morally wrong and legally wrong. So obviously at this time this is morally wrong, but they just don't seem to realise it. But in the next video we'll be looking at what they actually thought, you know, the reasons for opposing and the reasons for proposing. So hopefully we'll see you then. If not, you know, you can review other videos, or you can subscribe. Actually, not or you can subscribe to your channel. All of this helps. So please do go ahead, subscribe, watch, and if you don't come back and we don't see you on other videos, I'll simply say this: hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of your existence. And I'll say one final thing to you: goodbye forever.